Hey third graders, so here's the third lesson of our second week of review. So I gave you guys the opportunity to vote on which lesson you wanted to learn about, and it looks like most people wanted to review fractions, which makes sense because that was a pretty tough unit. And so we're going to go over fractions. So by the end of this lesson, you can use fraction bars and number lines to represent fractions, and you also will be able to compare fractions, okay? So those were the two that got voted on the most, so I'm kind of combining them into one short lesson. Okay, hopefully it'll be short. I'll try not to talk a lot. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so if you remember when we first did fractions, we used a fraction bar, and do you guys remember that this counted as a whole? Okay, so this was a whole fraction, and then we could break it up into parts, and parts are the fractions. So remember, with rules with fractions is they have to be equal parts, okay, and they're equal parts of a whole, okay? So let's go ahead and look at some examples. So they said shade each fraction bar to show the fraction. First, divide the fraction bar into the correct unit fractions. So their first one they did for us. They have the fraction 1/6. So if we remember, the denominator, or the number on the bottom, right, tells us how many pieces in the whole there are, how many equal parts there are. And then the number on top, the numerator, tells us how many are shaded or separated, right? So on this one, it says 1/6. So the bottom number tells us how many parts are in the whole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts in the whole, and then 1 is shaded. Okay, so for this next one, they want us to show 2/3. Well, first things first, we need to look at the bottom, the denominator first, to tell us how many pieces we need to break this apart into. If I look at the bottom, it says 3. This is 2/3. So I'm going to break this whole up into thirds, okay? So if I break it up into thirds, now this one, it's kind of tough to do thirds. You have to kind of eyeball it, what you think would it be about. And I'm not going to be exact, but remember, we're pretending that they're pretty close, okay? So I broke it up into 1, 2, 3 equal parts. So this is broken into thirds. Then it says it wants 2/3. So it wants 2 out of the 3 pieces, okay? So I'm going to shade in 1, 2. That shows 2 out of the 3 pieces, or 2/3, okay? All right, let's try another one. This one says 7/8, okay? So first things first, we always look at our denominator, and that tells us how many equal parts are in the whole. So I need to break this apart into 8 equal pieces. Now, that can be kind of hard if you start over here and you try to get 8 equal pieces. So remember, we have a trick. If it's an even number, we can split it in half, and then we can just keep splitting each of those pieces in half until we get the right amount of pieces. So I split this in half. Now I'm going to split this piece in half and this piece in half. Let's see how many pieces I have now. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have it broken up into fourths, but I need it to be eighths, okay? So I'm going to break each one of those pieces in half too. This piece in half. I'm going to break this piece in half, this piece in half, and this piece in half. So now let's count how many pieces we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I broke it apart into 8 equal pieces. So I have the denominator. I'm done with that part. Now I need to look at the numerator. My numerator tells me that it wants 7 out of the 8 pieces shaded. Remember that numerator tells us how many pieces are shaded or separated. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 7/8, okay? Notice it's almost a whole, right? Because a whole would be 8 out of 8 pieces. If I shaded one more, I'd have 8 out of 8 pieces, which is one whole. So 7/8 is really close to being the whole. All right, let's go to our next part. All right, so let's look at what fractions look like on a number line. This is a lot like a fraction bar. There's just a little differences, and you guys did awesome when we did review on this before CMAS, before we were going to do CMAS, but I think it's awesome that you guys requested to do this one as well. So let's look at this one. Let me just check really quick what I have. Okay, yeah. So here's my whole, and I mark it with a 0, so it's like a number line. I'm starting at 0, and then I go to 1, okay? Here's one whole, just like in your fraction bar. If I put a line right down the middle, what fraction of this whole did I break this into? 1/2, right? I have 2 equal pieces, 1, 2 equal pieces, and this is the first line. This is 1/2 of the number line, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Now let's look at another example. What if I did, if I broke this whole up into like this, okay? Now let's look. We look on our fraction line to find out what our denominator is. We look at how many equal pieces our whole is broken into, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you see how it's broken into 4 equal pieces? Okay, so now since this, so we know that our denominator is 4 for all of these, right? It's all broken up into 4 equal pieces. Okay, now we just have to count our lines. So this is 0 out of 4, right? This is where we start at the beginning. Then we jump and we have 1 out of 4. Keep jumping, 2 out of 4, or 2/4, and 3/4. Now if we keep going, this would also be 4 because the whole is broken up into 4 equal pieces, but what number would be on top for this one? 4 out of 4, right? 4/4 is the equal to 1 whole. Because if you had a pizza and you had it cut into 4 equal pieces and you ate 4 pieces, you ate the whole pizza, right? So 4/4 is the same as 1 whole, okay? If you also notice, 2/4 is right in the middle, right? 2/4 is the same as 1/2. Because if you had a pizza with 4 equal pieces and you ate 2 of them, right? If I draw a picture of that instead of using my hands, okay? If you had a pizza and it had 4 equal pieces and you ate 2 of them, didn't you eat half of your pizza? Okay, yeah, so 2/4 is the same as 1/2. Okay, and we could keep doing this. We could do all sorts of fractions. If we wanted to break it up into, let's try thirds. Okay, let's do thirds. So if I want to break it up into thirds, I need to break my whole up into 3 equal pieces. Now these aren't perfect, but 3 equal pieces. So the fraction, or the denominator, is 3 on all of these because they're all broken up into 3 equal pieces. Now let's fill in what our numerator is. This is the first line, so it's 1/3, 2/3, and then we have 3/3, or 1 whole, right? Because if you were to draw this fraction in another way, terrible thirds, pretend those are even, we have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Do you see how that's the whole pizza or the whole pie? Okay, 3/3 is the same as 1 whole. Okay, let's move on. All right, so for this one, it says mark each number line to show the fraction. First, divide the number line into the correct unit fraction. So for this one, they did it for you, 1/6. So we look at our denominator, okay, and it's broken up into 6 equal pieces. Let's count and just make sure they did it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Does everyone see how there's 6 equal pieces? Okay, and since this has, we look at the numerator and it's 1 out of 6, so we just jump 1/6. Okay, the other ones would be 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, and 6/6. Okay, they're the same. All right, let's look at the next one. It says 2/3. Okay, if I look at my denominator, that tells me how many equal pieces there are in the whole. Okay, so I know there's 3 equal pieces. Here's my whole. I need to break it apart into 3 equal pieces. Let's count just to make sure I did it right. 1, 2, 3. Does everyone see how there's 3 equal pieces on there? Okay, so then I look at my numerator. It's 2, okay, 2/3. Well, this first mark would be 1/3. And then when I get to the second mark, I have 2/3. I found it. Okay, so I'm going to circle that one. There's 2/3. All right, and I'm going to erase it just so I have time, or so I have room to draw on the other one. All right, let's do this next one. 7/8. It's just like our fraction bar that we did on the other one. Okay, I look at my denominator, and it tells me how many equal pieces I need to cut it into. Now, 8 is a lot, so remember we're going to use my trick where since it's an even number, I can cut it into halves. Then I can cut each one of those into halves. So now I have 4 equal pieces, and then if I cut 4 pieces in half, I'll have 8 equal pieces. So I'm going to cut that one in half, that one in half, that one in half, and that one in half. Now let's count and just make sure Miss Cook got 8 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now they're not super equal, but you guys get the idea, right? We're pretending. So I have 8 equal pieces, and now I need to look at my numerator. I have to show 7 eighths. So my first line would be 1/8. Then I've got 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, which is also a half, if you remember that. 4/8 is the same as half. 5/8, 6/8, and 7/8. Okay? 7/8. It's almost a whole, right? And then this one would be, the whole would be 8/8, because 8 out of 8 pieces is the whole thing. All right. Let's see. We'll go to the next one. Hopefully that's making sense. If it's not, make sure that you're writing down any questions you have, or just say, hey, Miss Cook, when you were drawing on the number line, that was really confusing, and I can help you later this week. Okay, we've got a couple more we'll do really quick. 2/4. So remember, actually, I'm going to have you guys pause the video and try to mark it out with your fingers. Or you could draw, if you have scrap paper next to you, which you should when you do your math lessons, draw these holes. Remember, we always put 0 and 1, the beginning and the end. And I want you to try to draw these 3. So show me what 2/4 would look like, 5/6 would look like, and 3/8 would look like. So go ahead, pause the video. Once you draw all 3 of those on your piece of paper, push play, and I will do it with you. Go. All right, so let's look at what it'll look like to do 2/4. So remember, I always look at my denominator first. I know I need to break this whole up into 4 equal pieces. So I'm going to break it in half, and then each one of those in half, so I can get kind of even pieces. Okay, just to check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yep, I got 4 equal pieces. Now I need to look at the numerator, 2/4. So I have 1/4, and then 2/4. I'm going to keep going, even though I found 2/4 just for practice. 3/4, and 1 whole would be 4 out of 4, or 4/4. Awesome. Okay, let's look at 5/6. I look at my denominator. It tells me I need to break this apart into 6 equal pieces. Now for 6, I know that's an even number. I like to do it this way, where I break it into thirds first, and then I break each one of those thirds in half. Okay, I'm going to count, make sure I did it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal pieces. I did it. Now I look at my numerator, and that'll tell me where I need to go. I'm not going to label these, I'm just going to count. 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6. That's where 5/6 is. Do you notice that 5/6 is almost a whole, right? Because a whole would be 6/6. We just need one more 6, then we would be at 6/6. Okay, next one. 3/8. Okay, I look at my denominator. Tells me how many pieces I need to break my whole up into. 8 is a lot, so remember I'm going to use my trick of cutting them in half, and then cutting each one of those pieces in half. Okay, I have 8. Let's just count, make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal pieces. Okay. Now I need to count my thirds. Okay. I'm looking at my numerator, or not my thirds, my eighths, and I want 3/8. So I'm going to count. Okay. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8. Now some of you might be wondering, Miss Cook, why don't we count this first line? 1/8, 2/8, 3/8. We don't count this first line because it's 0, right? If we had a normal number line, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't count it as 1, 2, 3, 4. We go 0, 1, 2, right? So this is the start line. Here would be 1/8, 2/8, 3/8. Okay, I know that some of you were confused on that when we first taught this. So hopefully you understand that this would be 1/8. It's got to be one whole piece out of 8. Okay. All right, let's look at the next one. We're not going to do that in this video. I can already tell it's going to be a pretty long video. So hopefully you guys remember that. If not, we can comment, or we can always come back to that later on this year. Okay, we have a brain break. You ready? Okay, so for this brain break, I'm going to ask you a would you rather question, and then I'll tell you whatever answer you pick, you have to do something. Okay, so would you rather go skiing or to a water park? If you'd rather go skiing, you need to do 5 jumping jacks. If you'd rather go to a water park, you need to do 5 push-ups. Okay, so pause the video and do that. All right, let's try another one. Would you rather become 5 years older, so then you are 14 or 15? Or would you rather become 2 years younger, so you are 7 or 8? Okay, if you would rather be 5 years older, you need to do 5 reach for the sky, or like jumping where you're reaching for the sky. If you picked 2 years younger, you're going to do 2 sit-ups. Okay, and that's when you get on the ground and you crunch up and get your abs going. All right, pause the video and try it. Okay, next one. Would you rather be an amazing artist or an amazing musician? Okay, if you'd rather be an amazing artist, I want you to, I'm trying to think of what you could do. I want you to do or touch your toes for 10 seconds. If you want to be an amazing musician, I want you to have a dance party for 10 seconds. Okay, pause the video and go. All right, hopefully you got some wiggles out. We're going to move on to the second part of today's lesson. Okay, so this was comparing unit fractions, and we'll go through this kind of quick. And again, you guys have already learned this part, but this is kind of a quick review. But then if you are still having really a lot of problems with this throughout the semester, we will always review all of this stuff at the end of the year too. Okay. Comparing unit fractions with fraction bars. Okay, so let's look at if we have our fraction bars. Okay, so notice that they're all the same size. You have to have fraction bars be the same size to be able to compare fractions, right? You can't compare a pie this big and a pie this big, right? Because if you had a half and a half, those wouldn't be the same size. So your fraction bar always has to be the same size. I don't know if you can really tell, but they cut these up into equal pieces. So here is cut up into 2 pieces, so it's 1/2 and 1/2. This one they cut up into thirds, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, okay? Remember, when we're comparing unit fractions, remember a unit fraction always is just one piece out of the whole, okay? So like examples are 1/3, 1/7, 1/100th, right? Those are all unit fractions. They always have 1 at the top. It's just one piece, okay? When you have a unit fraction, your numerators are always the same, right? Because they're always 1. This one's 1 and this one's 1. So you're really comparing the denominators. And do you remember we talked about kind of being greedy and selfish, so that we don't want to have to share with everybody else, right? So if we were to compare like 1/3 and 1/7, which is what they have down here, let's think about it. Would you want to cut your candy bar into 3 equal pieces and you get 1? Or would you want to have to cut it into 7 equal pieces and you get 1? We'd want to do 3 equal pieces, right? Because your pieces will be bigger, okay? So if we find 1/3 on here, here's 1/3, okay? And then we go and find 1/7. I'm looking 1/5, 1/6. This isn't very small. 1/7, okay? Look how much bigger 1/3 is than 1/7. We'd rather cut our see the same size candy bar, right? This is the same size bar as this one, but 1/3 is way bigger than 1/7, okay? Let's look at another example. This one says 1/3 and 1/2. Okay, so oops. We've got 1/3 and 1/2. Okay, if we do 1/3 and 1/2, think about it. You ask yourself, because they have the same numerator, you're only getting one piece out of the whole. Would you rather cut your candy bar into 3 equal pieces or 2 equal pieces? Okay, if we go look at 1/3 and 1/2, which one would you rather have? 1/2, right? Because you're only cutting your candy bar in half. With this one, you have to share with 3 people, so you will get a smaller piece. Okay, so when the numerator is the same, you look at the denominator, and if it's a bigger number, that actually makes it a smaller fraction, because that means you have to share with more people. Do you remember if we talked about comparison symbols, we want our alligator to eat the bigger one. So 1/2 is the bigger fraction. Okay? Let's do some other ones that, so fractions with the same, oops, I want to skip to same numerator still. Okay, so let's look at another one. Let's do like 2/3 and 2/6. Okay, these have the same numerator, right? Let's say this 2/3 is Miss Cook's, how much she gets of a candy bar, and 2/6 is how much Adam gets of a candy bar. Okay, we both are getting 2 pieces, but we need to decide who's getting bigger pieces. Okay, so with 2/3, I'm only having to cut mine up into 3 equal pieces, right? So me and Adam both have the same size candy bar. I'm cutting mine into 3 equal pieces, and I get 2 of them, okay? Adam has to cut his up into 6 equal pieces, and he gets 2 of them. Who's getting more candy bar? Me, right? Because I have, even though my number on the bottom is smaller, that's a good thing. That means I don't have to share with as many people, right? 2/3 is bigger than 2/6, okay? 2/3 is greater than 2/6. Let's try another one. Oh, I think if I do this, I can clean all of it. Yay, okay. So let's do another one. Let's do 3/5 and 3/4. Okay. Our numerator's the same. Okay, so let's pretend this one is Tay-Tay and Landon. Okay. Tay-Tay gets 3 pieces, Landon gets 3 pieces. But let's see who's getting the bigger amount of pieces. Okay. So if we look at it, Tay-Tay is getting 3 and Landon's getting 3. So let's draw fraction bars to compare. Terrible drawing of a candy bar. Okay, we're going to cut this one into fifths. Fifths are kind of hard. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I made 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to cut Landon's into fourths. Cut it in half. Cut each one of those in half. Okay, now Tay-Tay's getting 3 pieces. Landon's getting 3 pieces. So let's just shade them in. There's Tay-Tay's 3 pieces. Here's Landon's 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. Who gets more? Landon, right? This piece is bigger. Even though 4 is bigger than 5, since it's on the denominator, that means that Landon only had to cut his up into 4 pieces, and Tay-Tay had to cut his up in 5. He had to share with more people, right? So Tay-Tay actually gets a smaller amount because he has the same, or because he had to cut his into more pieces. Okay? Hopefully that is all coming back to you. Now let's mix it up just a little bit. I'll do this quick so this video is not so crazy long. Fractions with the same denominator. Okay? Now let's do, for example, 3/4 and 2/4. Okay? What's same about these two is they both have the same denominator. They're 2 candy bars that are the same size, and they're cut up into the same exact size pieces. Now pretend they're the same size pieces. I can't draw very good. Okay, so let's pretend this is Brooke and Esme. Okay, they're both cutting theirs up into 4 pieces. Pretend those are even. Okay, Brooke is getting 3 of those pieces. Esme is getting 2. Who got more? In this case, right, it was Brooke, okay? Because they're the same size pieces. They both cut theirs into fourths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're the same size pieces. But if we look at the numerator, Brooke is getting more. Esme is getting less. Okay? Hopefully this is jogging your memory and coming back to you. Let's try another one. Okay, let's do 4/6 and 2/6. These have the same denominator. Whoa, right? They both have 6. They're both cut into 6 equal pieces. Here's my terrible candy bar. Terrible candy bar number 2. Okay, let's pretend it's Garrison and Trip. Oh, I missed Trip, right? I bet you guys do too. Okay, so we'll cut these up into sixths. Oh, terrible drawing, Miss Cook. Okay, but you guys get the idea. I cut them up into 6 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, Garrison gets 4 of those pieces. 3, 4, and Trip gets 2. 1, 2. Who has more? Garrison, right? They both cut theirs into 6. They have the same denominator. The pieces are both cut into 6 equal pieces. But Garrison got 4 of those pieces, and Trip got 2 of them. Okay, so he has more. 4/6 is bigger than 2/6. Okay, friends, I'm not going to make this lesson any more longer than it already was. But by the end of this lesson, hopefully you could use fraction bars and number lines. So if I said 1/3, you'd be able to draw on a number line. And you also can compare fractions with different numerators and different denominators. Okay, for this one, I will have a Google form for you to fill out that you can show your learning. Remember, if you have any questions, to send me a private comment or anything like that, and let me know what you need help with. All right, have a good rest of your day.